Hello, true crime enthusiasts. Today we are going back in time to April 14th, 1912, the day the Titanic sank. History says that the Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. and sank 2 hours and 40 minutes later at 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, killing 1,500 people on board. Most notable people who died on the Titanic are Ida and Isidor Straus, co-founder of Macys department store, Thomas Andrews, the architect of the Titanic, Benjamin Guggenheim, American businessman who was a wealthy member of the Guggenheim family, Archibald Butt, American Army officer and aide to Presidents Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft, Edward John Smith, Titanics, Captain Jacques Futrelle, an American journalist and mystery writer who was known for his short detective stories. J.P. Morgan died on March 31, 1913, aged 75 years, in the St. Regis, Rome, Italy. Morgan signed a contract with Tesla in March 1901, agreeing to give the inventor $150,000, $5.49 million in 2023, to develop and build a wireless station on Long Island, capable of sending wireless messages to London as well as ships at sea. John Jacob Astor IV, a wealthy real estate developer, businessman, and investor who was the head of the Astoria Hotel. He was last seen smoking a cigarette with Jacques Futrelle and helped his wife and others into a lifeboat before trying to get in himself. In 1899, pioneering electrical engineer and inventor Nikola Tesla received $100,000 from John Jacob Astor to develop a new lighting system, but instead used the funds to establish a high-voltage and high-frequency lab on a remote hillside in Colorado Springs, with a direct view of Pikes Peak, a prominent mountain he claimed he would use to transmit electrical signals to Paris. Though he operated the lab for less than a year, it was here that he had his major breakthroughs that hardened his theories about long-distance wireless energy transmission. He produced artificial lightning at the lab, with millions of volts, arcing over more than 100 feet of open space. He also energized the Earth and lit light bulbs 100 feet away or more, proving that the Earth, as well as the air, could be used as a conductor. Eventually, his high draws of energy destroyed the local power station, 6 miles away, putting an end to his experiments there. He returned to New York, and the Colorado Springs lab remained, but was eventually torn down in 1904, and its contents sold. The lab site is now a public park. John Jacob Astor avoided Nikola after that for several years. They reconciled and worked together on aircraft and propulsion systems from 1908 until Astor's death on April 14, 1912, aboard the Titanic. Another notable absentee from the passenger list was J.P. Morgan himself. The magnate, known for his ruthless business acumen, had mysteriously canceled his voyage on the Titanic at the last moment. As the ship cut through the icy waters of the Atlantic, tensions were brewing beneath the surface. Astor, Guggenheim, and Straus were locked in a battle of ideologies with the proponents of the Federal Reserve Act. These men were the last bulwark against a banking system that threatened to centralize wealth and power. In the midst of this conflict was Nikola Tesla. Funded by both Astor and Morgan, Tesla was on the verge of a breakthrough that would change the world, a technology that could generate an infinite amount of electrical energy. Yet, while Astor saw in Tesla's invention a path to an egalitarian future, Morgan viewed it as another source of immense profit. The Titanic's voyage was well underway when disaster struck. The iceberg was a silent killer, looming out of the darkness, catching the crew by surprise. Panic ensued. White flares were shot into the sky, a critical mistake, signaling celebration rather than distress. The iron rivets of the Titanic, which were of subpar quality, buckled under the impact, and the ship's unsinkable compartments filled with freezing seawater. As the Titanic sank into the icy depths, Astor, Guggenheim, and Straus met their end, choosing to stay behind while women and children boarded the lifeboats. These three men, the stalwart opponents of the Federal Reserve Act, were gone. In the aftermath of the tragedy, the world mourned. The Titanic was a grim reminder of human fallibility. Yet beneath the waves, a different narrative was drowned, a tale of power, control, and technological revolution. The sinking of the Titanic had cleared the path for the Federal Reserve Act, which was signed into law a year later. Moreover, with the death of his friend and benefactor Astor, Tesla's dream of free, limitless energy for all dwindled into obscurity. What remains now is a question, whispered in hushed tones, passed down through the generations. Was the sinking of the Titanic truly an accident, a combination of human error and natural disaster? Or was it a carefully crafted assassination, a power play by one of the era's most ruthless businessmen? The answer lies in the silent depths amidst the ruins of the Titanic. In the end, it is a question of belief, a choice between accepting the narrative we have been given or delving deeper into the mysteries of the past. The truth, like the Titanic, lies beneath the surface. Could this be the most masterful cover-up in the history of power politics, or merely the whims of fate playing out in the icy depths of the North Atlantic? The intricate web of relationships and rivalries amongst those at the heart of the story only adds to the allure and mystery. In the aftermath of the disaster, Nikola Tesla continued his work, but the loss of Astor's patronage was a heavy blow. His dream of providing free energy to the world was gradually overshadowed by a harsher reality. His greatest benefactor was gone, and with him, a piece of the dream. On the other side of the coin, Morgan continued to consolidate his empire, ultimately playing a significant role in the establishment of the Federal Reserve. As we navigate through the annals of history, the voyage of the Titanic serves as a poignant reminder of human ambition, frailty, and the complex dance of power that often lies beneath the surface. Whether the conspiracy holds water or not, the allure of the Titanic continues to captivate us, its tragic tale interwoven with the enigmatic lives of those on board. So was the Titanic an unsinkable ship brought down by a colossal accident? Or was it a perfectly orchestrated symphony of destruction aimed at securing financial control? In the eerie silence of the ocean's depths, the ghost of the Titanic holds on to its secrets, leaving us to wonder, speculate, and weave tales of intrigue and ambition. Let's look at the facts. Fact: J.P. Morgan funded and built the Titanic. Fact: J.P. Morgan was booked on the voyage but canceled at the last second. Fact: friend of J.P. Morgan, Milton Hersey, also canceled at the last moment and survived to build the Hersey food empire. Fact: there were no red flares on board to signal to any boats for rescue, only white flares that signal a party and that everything is okay. Fact: it was the first ship of its kind with the ability to seal decks electromagnetically, which could also seal people below deck. Fact: the captain, Edward Smith, was one of the most decorated captains of his time, and it would have been totally out of character for him to avoid precautions. Fact: the author of the book was poisoned to death a couple years after the Titanic sank. Fact: the Federal Reserve was formed the very next year. Fact: the Astor family was one of the richest families in the world, and John Astor III opposed the Federal Reserve. John Jacob Astor IV, the richest man in the world at the time, a friend of Nikola Tesla and an outspoken opponent of the creation of the Federal Reserve. Astor gained his wealth, in part, as a real estate builder, investor, and inventor. Other prominent Federal Reserve detractors, such as Benjamin Guggenheim and Isidor Straus, also died on board. The sinking of the Titanic has always been an event surrounded by a great deal of mystery. The cause of the demise of the unsinkable vessel has been questioned and analyzed for nearly 100 years. Many have concluded that the Titanic tragedy was caused by sinister events, and that the sinking of the famous vessel was well planned, well executed, and orchestrated. This raises many questions. Nikola Tesla, the inventor of alternating current and wireless energy, were funded by J.P. Morgan. Tesla used these funds to develop the Wardenclyffe Tower in Shoreham, Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. Also known as the Tesla Tower, was an early experimental wireless transmission station. Tesla intended to transmit messages, telephony, and even facsimile images across the Atlantic Ocean to England and to ships at sea based on his theories of using the Earth to conduct the signals. Astor funded Tesla's Colorado Springs power plant to transmit wireless energy. These telegraphy and electrical transmits would be received by the Wardenclyffe Tower, Pikes Peak, all the way to Paris. Now let's talk about the sinking and what we were told what happened that fateful night. RMS Titanic sank on the 15th of April 1912 in the North Atlantic Ocean. The largest ocean liner in service at the time, Titanic was 4 days into her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City, with an estimated 2,224 people on board, when she struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. Her sinking 2 hours and 40 minutes later, at 2:20 a.m. on the 15th of April, resulted in the deaths of more than 1,500 people, making it one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. Titanic had been designed to stay afloat with up to 4 of her forward compartments flooded. Think about it. If the hull was torn in compartment 5 and 6, Titanic would have only lived above water for no more than 18 minutes. Not enough time for evacuation. It is very possible the Titanic was taken out RMS Lusitania style, but miscalculated the torpedo target due to darkness. These questions need answers. Could it be the Titanic was sabotaged to eliminate Nikola Tesla investors and stop him from continuing his work? If you don't know much about Nikola Tesla, we suggest you read the FBI files. The link is in the description. Nikola Tesla was known to experiment with weather control, generating earthquakes with the Tesla oscillator. Tesla's electromechanical oscillator is a steam-powered electric generator patented by Nikola Tesla in 1893. Later in life, Tesla claimed one version of the oscillator caused an earthquake in New York City in 1898, gaining it the popular culture title Tesla's earthquake machine. Nikola was also very close with Albert Einstein. It is known that the duo has experimented with time travel. The Titanic disaster will go down as one of the worst tragedies in maritime history. Let us know in the comments what you think. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, stay safe and stay aware.